This is not good. The live streamer who is here, we're doing this since 2015, says, do not leave all that real estate above your head. So, welcome. We're going to get to poetry in just a second. Sorry about that. There are certain ways I am a perfectionist. So, not in many, but in some ways. So, I'm glad to be here to share poetry with you today. I'm not feeling tip top, so we'll do the best that we can. Okay, I see that Ninj and M are in the house, Miss M. Okay, thank you for being here. Thank you so much. If I can get my little guy here to cooperate, we'll be doing great. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for liking the video. I appreciate that. I appreciate your presence. We're going to start with a really important poem to me. It's very important anyway. And this poem was written, it's called In Praise of Mystery. This is a book. I'm not going to show it to you, the pictures. I'm just going to read you the poem. But this poem was sent up on um the space, let's see, NASA's Europa Clipper spacecraft. I was trying to get the name perfect, could not remember it. So it's a beautiful book if you, even if you don't have children in your life. The illustrations are amazing. Hi, Kenro. Good to see you. So the gorgeous illustrations along with the poem. And the poem is written by Ada Limon. And Ada Limon was our poet laureate um, up until I think about a year ago. So she's an amazing poet laureate, really did a lot in the world of poetry. The poet laureate's job, if you didn't know, is to sort of um, bring poetry to the people. And so this is one way that she did that. She wrote this poem that was especially for this spacecraft that is going to study Jupiter. And this poem is literally engraved in the side of a spacecraft. So here we go. In Praise of Mystery. Arching under the night sky inky with black expansiveness, we point to the planets we know. We pin quick wishes on stars. From Earth, we read the sky as if it is an unerring book of the universe, expert and evident. Still, there are mysteries below our sky, the whale song, the songbird singing its call in the bough of a wind-shaken tree. We are creatures of constant awe, curious at beauty, at leaf and blossom, at grief and pleasure, sun and shadow. And it is not darkness that unites us, not the cold distance of space, but the offering of water, each drop of rain, each rivulet, each pulse, each vein. Oh, second moon, we too are made of water, of vast and beckoning seas. We too are made of wonders, of great and ordinary loves, of small and visible worlds, of a need to call out to the dark. And I see there's a question about Europa. So I'll just read you what the blurb told me. United States Poet Laureate Ada Limon's beguiling and magisterial verse leaves Earth in 2024, engraved on NASA's Europa Clipper spacecraft on a mission to study Jupiter's second moon for conditions that could support life. So that's what it was called. Thank you for asking that question. But yeah, so that's poetry. Ada Limon, she really brought it. While she was poet laureate, she also published a number of books and taught so many classes. She has an amazing voice. If you ever listen to her audiobooks or audio narration anywhere, she has an absolutely beautiful, soft voice. She teaches and lives in Kentucky. Ada Limon, In Praise of Mystery. Oof. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm especially grateful because I don't feel real great, and that's good. It's not great that I don't feel good, but it's great that I'm here in spite of not feeling good. Hi, Rosani. So good to see you. Hello, hello. So happy to see you all in here, hanging out, reading, listening to poetry. Always makes me happy to read poetry. Okay, thank you, Miss M. Miss M says she's going to listen to the replay. Or listen while you make dinner. Oftentimes I do both at the same time. So this is one of my most trusty poetry collections. It's called Cries of the Spirit. As you can see, it's been much loved, much used. This book is one that I read often when I used to do poetry, poetry and prompts at the park every weekday back in the land of Periscope. Um, so I found some poems I wanted to read today for you and with you. Some of these I already wrote prompts to from a long, long time ago, which is really fun to go back and see those. Okay. It's good to know that you're walking the dog. It does look well worn. Just very well worn. I love these notes that I left for myself. I was like, what am I saying? What am I saying? We have another Mary Oliver quote. I mean, another Mary Oliver poem. She's always a favorite. And I'm trying to see, I had a plan that when I was preparing. Okay. All right, so we're going to read that one because we just read about about outer space or something that was going. We did in Praise of Mystery and the Europa aircraft spacecraft. I wanted to read a poem called Scientists Find Universe Awash in Tiny Diamonds. This is by Pat Main Ellis. And I wrote in the notes, does this explain why? Does this explain why? So here we go. This poem was written from an article in a magazine or a newspaper. And that's a really fun thing to do if you're looking for a subject to write about, is just to look in the newspaper or magazine or an online article. Find something that catches your eye and write from it. A little tidbit from Julie History is there was one time I was directing a play, and I asked the women to come up with an improvisational monologue based on a magazine article, or rather a newspaper article. And I brought a newspaper, the local newspaper, and the women did a great job. It was a play called, well, the last word in it is monologues. The first word is part of a woman's body that a man doesn't have, or a part of the female anatomy. Anyway, monologues. That one. So anyway, hello, good to see you, Brianna. Okay, here we go. Um, 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 Scientists find universe awash in tiny diamonds. But haven't we always known? The shimmer of trees, the shaking of flames, every cloud lined with something. Clean water sings right to the belly, scouring us with its purity. It, too, is awash with diamonds. So small that trillions could rest on the head of a pin. It is not unwise then to say that the air is hung close with diamonds, that we breathe diamond, our lungs hoarding, exchanging, our blood sowing them rich and thick along every course it takes. Does this explain why some of us are so hard? Does this explain why some of us shine, why we are all precious? That we are awash in creation, spumed with diamonds, shot through with beauty that survived the death of stars. Does this explain why we are all awash in diamonds? All right, this next one. Hey, good to see you, Judith. You arrived at the perfect time because we're starting with a new poem called The Pedestrian Woman. And I circled inside this poem, there's a line that says, ordinary is a word that has no meaning. So, something you might want to write about, or paint about, or sketch about, or talk about is so, what is ordinary and what is not ordinary? This is The Pedestrian Woman by Robin Morgan. She stands at the intersection, waiting to stride across in that inimitable way of hers, shoulder bag banging against one hip, head high, hair promiscuous to the wind. Or sits at the typewriter, inconspicuous as any other woman, writing messages to the universe, which will get her in trouble with a boss. No past, no future flickers like a clue in all those chance encounters that accumulate of life. See her ride the subway. See her warm the leftovers for her supper. See her feed her dog. And can you see what vision fires its shape in her sleep's kiln? What passion, irony, and wit, what love? What courage are disguised in all her daily movements? Ordinary is a word that has no meaning. Her life is a fine piece of Japanese pottery in Shibu style, so crafted that to see the cup's exterior is to be privy only to its dull sienna clay and to the flavored warmth with which you choose to fill it. But drained of all your preconceptions, you may discover the bowl inside. A high glazed hyacinth blue that rushes to your heart and there remains, like an indelible message you remember from a fortune told in tea leaves once, like a wet jasmine flower that you can never rinse away. I really love that one. Never ever read that poem before in my life, and I feel like it really packs a punch. I love this section. See her ride the subway. See her feed her dog. Can you see what vision fire its shape in her sleep's kiln? In her sleep's kiln. So when she's sleeping, there's like a fiery, talking about the pottery. The pottery of her soul is cooking inside of her kiln. I just love that. What courage are disguised in all her daily movements. What passion, irony, wit, what love, what courage are disguised in her daily movements. Ordinary is a word that has no meaning. I love that. Yes, they're really good. The analogies are really good. And the perfect follow-up is another poem that I've never read called, and by the way, today, this poem is called Love Should Grow Up Like a Wild Iris in the Fields. So today, when I was coming back from South Jersey, I went to a town, if K and Ro's still here, I went to a village called Historic Roebling Village. It's a little bit off the beaten path from my way home, but not too far. I was very happy to go there. And while I was there, I saw iris, beautiful iris, many different kinds of iris in the Roebling Park there, right by the Delaware River. I was instantly in love with this little village. And as usual, Julie's looking around saying, "Could I live here?" Yeah, there was a young man walking his dog, who, of course, I met very happily, and he was singing, not the dog, the young man. And I said, "I really loved your singing." It was just so great. It was just so great. The sky was so blue, the clouds were so voluptuous clouds, and the grass was just that perfect spring green. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. So, wild iris, I was inspired by the wild iris. Okay, here we go. Love should grow up like a wild iris in the fields, unexpected, after a terrible storm, opening a purple mouth to the rain and not a thought to the future. Ignorant to the grass and the graveyard of leaves around, forgetting its own beginning. Love should grow like a wild iris, but does not. Love more often is to be found in kitchens at the dinner hour, tired out and hungry, lingers over tables and houses where the walls record movements, while the cook is sometimes angry, and the ingredients of the meal are budgeted while a child cries, "Feed me now," and her mother, not quite hysterical, says over and over, "Wait just a bit, just a bit." Love should grow up in the fields like a wild iris, but never does really startle anyone. Was to be expected, was to be predicted, is almost absurd, goes on from day to day, not quite blindly, gets taken to the cleaners every fall, sings old songs over and over, and falls on the same piece of rug that never gets tacked down, gives up, wants to hide, is not brave, knows too much, is not like an iris growing wild, but more like staring into space in the street, not quite sure which door it was, annoyed about the sidewalk being slippery, trying all the doors, thinking if love wished the world to be well, it would be well. Love should grow up like a wild iris, but doesn't. It comes from the midst of everything else, sees like the iris of an eye. When the light is right, feels in blindness, and when there is nothing else, where there is nothing else, is tender, blinks, and opens up to the sky. That poem was kind of like what I call an infinite loop-de-loop. An infinite loop-de-loop. So it starts one at the center of the infinity sign, goes around and goes around and goes around and goes around, because it starts with how love should be a wild iris and a kind hello, and kind of goes back to being the wild iris, even after all the complaint and whining and kitchen and babies crying and slipping on the sidewalk, comes back around to the beauty of the tenderness, opening up the face to the sky, which is what those irises did today when I was out in Roebling Village. Hello, Shelby. It's good to see you. Good to see you today. All right. So how about this is a poem by Anne Sexton. Anne Sexton is a well-known American poet. She had her biggest time of fame in the 1950s and 1960s. She was a contemporary of Sylvia Plath, took classes with Sylvia Plath, was also from New England. Here's her poem, Welcome Morning. And I agree with this first sentence. There is joy in all, in the hair I brush each morning, in the cannon towel newly washed that I rub my body with each morning, in the chapel of eggs I cook each morning, in the outcry from the kettle that heats my coffee each morning, in the spoon and chair that cry, "Hello there, Anne," each morning, in the Godhead of the table that I set my silver plate cup upon each morning. Excuse me. All this is God, right here in my pea green house each morning. And I mean, though often forget to give thanks, to faint down by the kitchen table in a prayer of rejoicing as the holy birds at the kitchen window peck into their marriage of seeds. So while I think of it, let me paint a thank you on my palm for this God, this laughter of the morning, lest it go unspoken. The joy that isn't shared, I've heard, dies young. The joy that isn't shared, I've heard, dies young. And I'm trying to think whose quote that is, but I can't remember. And Sexton was also one of the, and this is an example of a confessional poem. She was one of the first to really bring on confessional poetry. Okay. I have a bunch of poems with X's, which means don't share on a live stream. Wait a second. No, that one I see why. I saw Denise Levertov. Okay, we got to our friend Mary Oliver with Sunrise. Sunrise by Mary Oliver. And we have one more, which is about right. As I said when I first got here, I'm not feeling real great. Um, I'm getting overheated really easily these last bit of time, and I'm feeling really overheated. So I will read Sunrise, and then I will read Remember by Joy Harjo. The prompt that I wrote for this one initially was, oh, what is a confessional poem? A confessional poem is a poem where the writer talks about his or her life, just like that, just like uh I cannot believe my brain just went blank. Sylvia, oh, Sexton, what Anne Sexton just did. So Anne Sexton was writing about her kitchen and about how she doesn't say thank you and noticing all that there's joy in all of these things. She's describing her house, her cannon towel, all of her other things. Um, and during that time in the 50s and 60s till today, there were a lot more confessional poets, which means people just talking about their everyday life, kind of telling their stories, or not yet telling their stories rather than in the past. They would tell mythic stories or they would share um, tales of other people, but usually not the ordinary life. And I would say the ordinary life is what took over in a lot of like 19th and 20th century art. You'll see a lot more everyday life. So, oh, hi, Pause and Play Nola. How are you? I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad you're here for a grateful moment. We're going to read a poem called Sunrise. I would like to say I'm really grateful that you have been making the videos you've been making, Planola, and I'm really glad that you took a time out of your day to hear some poetry with us. By the way, if you don't follow Pause and Planola, he is an incredible human, and he has some really great poetry that he's been sharing on some of his recent videos. One of them I listened to earlier today. So you might want to check out his channel if you don't follow him already. Okay. Sunrise by Mary Oliver. All right. You must live for it, an idea or the world. People have done so brilliantly, letting themselves grow, creating unforgettable moments. And this morning, climbing the familiar hills in the familiar fabric of dawn, I thought of China and India and Europe. And I thought how the sun blazes for everyone just so joyfully as it rises under the lashes of my own eyes. And I thought, I am so many. What is my name? What is the name of the deep breath I would take over and over for all of us? Call it whatever you want. It is happiness. It is another one of the ways to enter the fire. I'm going to read a little bit of that again. This morning, climbing the familiar hills and the familiar fabric of dawn, I thought of China and India and Europe. And I thought how the sun blazes for everyone just so joyfully as it rises under the lashes of my own eyes. And I thought, I am so many. What is my name? What is the name of the deep breath I would take over and over for all of us? Call it whatever you want. It is happiness. It is another one of the ways to enter the fire. All right. This poem is written by Joy Harjo. So, Ada Limon, we read this poem in Praise of Mystery, was our opening poem. Thank you. She's an amazing writer. Ada Limon is, and so is Joy Harjo. They're both former poet laureates of the United States. So, Ada Limon's from Kentucky. Joy Harjo is a member of the Muskogee Nation, and she lives in Oklahoma. So here, she wrote this long before she was poet laureate. All right, she was poet laureate. Her term ended right when Ada Limon's began. Remember the sky you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. I met her in a bar once in Iowa City. Remember the sun's birth at dawn, that is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown, and the giving away tonight. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and a breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth, whose skin you are. Red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth, we are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind, remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. I heard her singing Kiowa war dance songs at the corner of 4th and Central once. Remember that you are all people and that all people are you. Remember that you are this universe and that this universe is you. Remember that all is in motion, is growing as you. Remember that language comes from this. Remember the dance that language is, that life is. Remember. This poem is called Remember by Joy Harjo. Remember by Joy Harjo. And for those of you who don't know, Paz, would you like me to tell you why, when I was reading this poem, I thought of you? Melroy, we'll pray for you. We'll definitely pray for you. If you would, this poem is kind of along those lines, to remember who you are, to remember that you are all people and all people are you. Remember that you are this universe and that this universe is you. Remember that all is motion, is growing, is you. Thank you. Thank you. And I was going to say, pause and play Nola. When I saw this poem before I went live, I saw that part where we talk about her father. Remember your father. He is your life also. I thought of you. So I'm grateful that you came in. It is a beautiful, beautiful poem. Um, she has she has she has several beautiful collections. Joy Harjo does. Um, she has one about sunrise. She has a one, speaking of grief and loss, that I really connect with too. It's more of a picture. It's like the Ada Limon one, because sometimes they take poems and they make them into books. They're like illustrated poems. And I don't have that one's not here. It's in South Jersey, but it's similar in that. So yeah. Yes, we're saying prayers for you, Plainola. That's so sweet of you to say. That's so kind of you to say. One of the miracles of YouTube is that we can get to know people all over the world. And I believe that there's no accidents, that the fact that we meet each other here and can provide one another comfort is quite powerful. And so I am really grateful. I'm grateful that you were able to be here, Planola, and everybody else is here, and that we can talk about tough things. Oh, hi, Miss M. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right. I usually come live for half an hour, and I read the poems, all the poems I wanted to read. Let's see if there's one more I can find from here. This is a poetry book from my, oh yeah, this is it. I had one. Okay. Good to see you, CL. I see that you popped in while I was reading. This is called The Peace of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. Wendell Berry, I believe, is also a poet laureate. Our poet laureates, very rich group of people. Yes, Wendell Berry. I studied him this week a little bit. He was a farmer, a Kentucky farmer. I believe he's like he and Ada Limon both in Kentucky. Ada Limon is actually from the Bay Area in California, where Ninja was also from back in the day. So here we go. The Piece of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound in fear of what my life and my children's life may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world, and I am free. That is the Piece of Wild Things. Piece of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. Thinking about the beauty of the heron. Fagnola, do you have heron down there? I'm thinking there are probably heron in New Orleans. I come into the presence of still water. I love this line. And I feel above me the day blind stars waiting with their light. So when we look up at the sky in the daytime outside, I can see light blue sky and thick blue clouds. And the stars are out there too. We just can't see them yet. It's like the sun rises every day, and I can trust that implicitly that the sun is going to rise. Even when it's cloudy and raining, the sun still comes up every day. I don't have to do anything, I don't have to earn it. The sun comes up. And for me, that's a wonderful promise. You've lots of herons there, CL? Yes, I love them too. I also love egrets. One time, Samuel and I were walking on an urban trail in Bakersfield. It's an interesting mix of urban and rural. It's a big town and like it's 200,000, well, not big, 200,000 people surrounded by farmland. And there's one section of town that we enjoy adventuring in. And one time when we were out on a trail, yeah, there was an egret landed really close to us, and he was little at the time. He's now 25, fully grown young man. But back then he was like 6. So, probably up to here on me. And the egret landed, and we were so excited to see it. We started walking really slow to see if we could, how close we could get without the egret taking off. So egrets and herons, I always feel especially blessed when I see them. Well, I feel especially blessed to be with all of you today. And I have a friend who's waiting for me. So they are beautiful. If you're just popping in, Miss M, we were thinking of you as you were reading and you were getting ready. I hope you'll watch the replay. I forgot to greet the replay viewers while I was fixing my camera. Replay viewers, if you are here. Ooh, the Rosette Spoonbill. Oh, hi, Pam. I'm glad that you made it. Even if you were a little bit late, that's fine. We read a few different American poet laureates, which was really fun. Well, fun and also insightful. I'll show you the books we read from. This last book we read from 100 Poems That Matter. We read Wendell Berry here, The Piece of Wild Things. And we read Ada Limon's poem In Praise of Mystery. This poem actually went up. It's engraved in the side of the Europa Clipper that flew or is flying, I don't know if it's there yet, to Jupiter to study the Jupiter's moons. Pretty amazing. And then we read from this collection that I read from a lot, that I've read from so many times in live streams. This is an incredible collection, I think. Um, it's all women poets. And we read poems by Joy Harjo was the last one called Remember. So she's a poet laureate of the US, as is Ada Limon, as is Wendell Berry. So we talked about confessional poetry. Um, yeah, it was a very rich um, time together. Although I'm not feeling well, I'm very grateful. Yes, I tend to celebrate women poets. I'm not feeling real well. Um, Paul's in Planola is here today, and he's had a really significant loss in his family this week. And so I'm really grateful that he came and we were able to share some poetry that hopefully brought him some comfort. So it is a blessing that we can connect with people here on YouTube. It's one of the miracles. You're not feeling the best today either? I'm feeling very warm. I'm feeling so overheated. That's probably my biggest issue that I've had the last few days. Overheated and tired. So, yes. Plainola, Judith's very sorry for your loss. Oh, that's totally okay. Totally okay, Kanro. We understand. Oh my goodness, it's catching the not feeling well thing. Well, I hope that the poetry helped you to feel better. Thank you so much. Thank you. Plainola's thanking Judith. I really appreciate your presence. I really enjoy your videos, and I enjoy that you're writing poetry and sharing it. Because writing to me, writing helps to get things out. Also, if you're not a writer, sometimes just getting on video and sharing is helpful too. Yeah. Okay. So with that, I'm going to say thank you so much for being here. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:30 Pacific or 8:30 Eastern time. We'll do our conversations on the porch. I love hanging out on the porch in the early morning. I think it'll still be good weather, so I'm very grateful for that. I appreciate each and every one of you for being in my life. You all take care. Bye now.